Welcome to Early Years Insight, and I'm Kathy Leatherbarrow from Eden, and today's guest is Alan Kennedy. But Alan's background is he was the Executive Director of Road Safety GB and is now a clinical hypnotherapist. So welcome, Alan.
Hi.
What did you do with road safety, Alan?
I was Executive Director. I didn't like the title of Chief Exec. I thought it was too grand. When I first got into hypnotherapy, I got into it because I was developing road safety courses, and I'd been delivering road safety in a way I was shown to do it, which was all negative, and I never believed it was the right way, but I didn't know why. And then me and a colleague got our heads together. I thought, we've got to stop the fire service doing all of these gory images, but we need to know why. And there we did the research, and we came up with the formula. This is why you need to stop. And that really got my interest, and we got more into the psychology of education and how the brain works, etc. And I thought, what am I going to do when I retire with all this knowledge? And hypnotherapy. So I retrained about 6-7 years ago, and it was a tough couple of years. To be honest, the hypnosis side took one afternoon.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all. One afternoon and a bit of practice. The therapy bits, all that stuff you have to learn. 2 years of hard work, and I still research things now, 6-7 years later, to keep on top of everything.
Although this is hypnotherapy, there's lots of techniques within hypnotherapy that are useful for parents without it being therapy.
Yeah, and it's very different to traditional therapy. I would never say to anyone, don't go for your traditional therapy. But quite often I'll get a client come along and I'll say, well, every session I'll ask, have you done anything to treat this in the past? And quite often they'll say, well, I've been going to a counsellor or another therapist for 4 years. And you go every week, every month, and you pay every time, and you've been going for 4 years. Why are you still going? It's not working, And the difference, I think, is that in traditional therapies, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, I guess it's repetition, and the problems are constantly being brought to the surface, or they're being packed away in a box somewhere, rather than being dealt with. And hypnotherapy does the opposite. It brings it out, it gets rid of it, and you can sometimes really change a person's life in 30-40 minutes. Sometimes it takes a few sessions.
It's released and it's gone.
It's get it out there,
rather than contained.
Yeah. Don't lock it away. Get it out. Deal with it. Break the chains and cut the ties and all of that kind of stuff.
It's a bit scary, really.
It's not scary, really. No, it's
really?
not scary at all. And what I find is at the end of a session, clients will say, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I had a great experience. It's guided imagery. So I take them on a journey, and they feel really good after it. And they go away like a different person. But to try and answer your question about how can parents kind of use a very light form of hypnosis, it's just knowing that when your child is really dozy, they're suggestible. Yeah, they're suggestible. And that's the time to talk to them in a positive way. It's more difficult with children over the age of 8, 9, because their critical mind's starting to emerge. But if you still get them, teenagers, adults, talk to them while they're in that really dozy state, and put the positive messages in. You can do this. You will do this. I mean, I can't. What I don't want to do is for parents to go off and believe that they can change a person's life, because you need to be trained to do that. But certainly use positive messaging at the appropriate times when the subconscious is responsive to it.
How does adults' minds work differently to children? Are the brain waves dramatically different throughout the day?
Yeah, okay. So if you think of it as 5 bands of activity. So delta at the bottom, which is deep sleep.
Yeah.
And then there's theta, which is that twilight zone in between sleep and awake. And then there's alpha, which is kind of just above consciousness. So that is subconscious brainwaves. And a child below the age of 8, 9 will fluctuate between those. Once the critical mind emerges and we become teenagers and adults, the brain can operate much quicker then, and it can go into beta and gamma. So beta, if I remember rightly, something like up to 20 hertz, gamma 40 hertz plus. So we are probably working in gamma at the moment because, higher processing tasks, things like that, and you're thinking on your feet. Adults can do that. But during the day, we'll fluctuate, so after lunch, an adult might, have a big lunch. The adult brainwave might come right down to alpha, you just want to go to sleep.
You want an afternoon nap.
Yeah. And then, of course, in the evening, it'll come down even further while you're watching television. In fact, adults go through hypnotic state dozens of times during the day. The brainwave activity does fluctuate a lot. If you're driving on your own down a motorway, I can guarantee you'll go into hypnotic trance a number of times. You'll go into theta.
Yeah, that's scary, but I can thoroughly believe that.
But because the subconscious mind is protecting you, this is what happens. Something happens up the road ahead. Suddenly, you react to it. Yeah, because subconscious mind it's always watching. It's always taking care of you. But you do slip into this. And at the end of the journey, you look back and think, I can't remember anything that happened because you're daydreaming. You're in a hypnotic state, basically. Brainwaves go up and down throughout the day. And then during the night, you go through that subconscious, those 3 bands, and you'll go into delta a number of times. There might be 4 or 5 sleep cycles. You never go into a deep sleep all through the night. You're constantly running a cycle of deep sleep, theta, alpha, then theta, then deep sleep again, cycles. So people who may have trouble sleeping, it's because that sleep cycle's been interrupted as well.
It's disturbed.
So a sleep cycle lasts around about 90 minutes. So if you want to have a good night's sleep, you should say, well, what time am I going to get up? So work it out, 90-minute cycles back, that's when I need to be asleep. So you wake up at the top end of the cycle rather than when you're in deep sleep.
That's interesting. So not necessarily your 8 hours, but working 90-minute blocks.
Roughly.
Yeah.
And people are different. You just got to kind of try and work out.
So you don't really want to wake up in the middle of a 90-minute block?
Not in the middle where you might be in a deep sleep. So,
Because you'd be
so if you're going to have an alarm set, you want to try and work it out. Well, this is when I'm in alpha. I'm going to wake up anyway. So, and when you think about it, just the things we say to children of a certain age or an adult when they're in a certain state of brainwave activity, we're talking to people who are hypnotized already.
Yeah.
When we're soothing our children to get them down to sleep, we're taking them through a hypnotic phase. And at the right point, that's when you've got to start giving them the positive messages. So hypnosis is very, very simple. It's what you do afterwards is
if you just think of a basic lullaby for a child, it's that beginning.
That's what you do. You're slowing the brainwaves down, getting them right down so that they eventually fall asleep. They go through theta, then they go into deep sleep delta. Yeah, that's the aim. Yeah.
Wow. See, I could just listen to you all day.
Yeah.
That's
I'm doing a workshop for a friend. She runs like a health and well-being beauty place up in Hexham in Northumberland. She's got next to the house. She's got a cottage, Curlew Cottage, and it's got treatment rooms and everything. It's a great place, and she's very spiritual type, and we were meant to do a workshop back in 2020, but lockdown happened just before that weekend. So we're doing it in March, and I'm doing a session on hypnotherapy and how it works and the benefits of hypnotherapy. And another friend of ours is doing a thing on living life abundantly, and we're putting a lunch on, and inviting people. The great thing is that a lot of our clients are quite well off, and they come back for loads and loads of different workshops and treatments. So we'll have no problem filling it up,
Wow.
And she passes clients to me, for hypnotherapy. But I do most of it online now.
And does it work as well?
It works better.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that's because people are in their own environment.
Okay.
Where, some people that, come to me and I'm a bit worried, And I said, oh, don't worry, they're not in their own space and they just get a bit worried. But I have no problem calming them down and explaining what's going to happen. And it always works. But I think it works a bit better when people are in their own house. So as long as they've got good headphones on, and they can hear the music and what I'm saying to them, it works absolutely great. Yeah. Success rate is really high. It works for 80% of people. The other 20%, basically half of them, they may have issues that I can't look at because maybe they've got suicidal tendencies or they're on mind-bending drugs or something, but the other half actually don't want to change.
Wow.
So they'll come for hypnotherapy, but they don't want
But really
they don't want it.
They don't want it.
And that could be because there is a benefit for being the way they are. They might get lots of sympathy from friends. And so therefore, I'm not going to change because all my friends gather around and give me sympathy. Or it could be somebody wants to stop smoking. I'll always say to them, why do you want to stop? Oh, well, my wife says I smell and my clothes. I wouldn't work with them. I'd say, sorry, I'm not going to take your money because it's not you that wants to change. It's your wife that wants you to change. So it works for 80% of people. And if you really want it to work, it'll work. If you don't, it won't. Because you do all the work.
Yeah.
I just facilitate it,
Yeah.
The client does all of the mind stuff. Yeah.
Do you think we could expand a little on behaviour? Because there's a lot of children at the moment being diagnosed with behavioural issues.
Yeah.
Attention deficit and, hyperactivity and a lot of the time they are presented with very negative approach.
Mm-hmm.
As in, stop, stay safe, don't do that. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big error.
I'm not an expert in that field, but, just the examples I gave with my own grandkids, about...
I take it Finley's the cheeky one.
He really is. He's 11. Lucas, his cousin, is 11. Lana's 5. And my oldest granddaughter, she's 21 now.
Wow.
And I've got a great grandchild coming. I can't believe it. In March.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, is it? Yeah. So my experience with my own kids and grandchildren, when they do, come along. Lucas, he's 11 and he has, we think he's got ADHD.
Yeah.
He's just about to go and have some kind of assessment.
Yeah.
And he loses it now and again. He gets frustrated with things if it's not going his way.
Yeah.
And, he'll throw a bit of a tantrum.
And it's frustration mainly,
It's frustration, yeah. And his mum is getting frustrated with it as well, obviously, because it upsets the family life. And she kind of loses her temper now and again. And it's hard. And when he comes to my house and he gets a bit like that, I just put my arm around him. And I just tell him it's all right. It's all right to be frustrated. And I have empathy with him. I just say, I know what it's like because I've been frustrated many times in the past.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key things at the moment with under 5s especially.
Yeah.
It's allowing children to feel these emotions, isn't it? And understand them.
Understand them, yeah.
Understand that it's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
It's okay to be frustrated.
Yeah, it is.
It's okay to be cross. And it's about learning to understand them, accept them.
That's right. Because a lot of them struggle. They don't understand why they're behaving like they do.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's important to do that, physically put an arm around them, embrace them, say, it's okay. Just let it out. Let it go. That is, letting go is a massive thing. Helping them to breathe properly. take deep breaths, a few deep breaths, think about what's going on in the head, and then breathe it all out. Breathe it out.
Yeah.
And the emotion goes with it. So there's a few techniques like that. One I like to use with the kids is, especially when they're just getting ready for bed and they're getting dozy, and they're sitting, with a little snack before they go to bed, and that's when the brainwaves drop down into theta, and that's a great time to talk to them, because the subconscious mind is working well, and you're accessing it. So with Lana, my youngest granddaughter, she was having a real problem with brushing her teeth. Yeah. And Finley as well. I did the same with Finley. Wouldn't brush their teeth. So when they're relaxing, it's great to just sit down with it, read them a story. And it could be any story. But in between the lines, you put something in there. So for example, Little Red Riding Hood, and Little Red Riding Hood was, walking through the forest this day. And Finley found a toothbrush and he had no problems brushing his teeth. And Little Red Riding Hood continued down the path. And a few lines more, and every morning Finley brushed his teeth before he went to school. And then she knocked on the cottage door, and you're just putting these little lines in while he's dozing and his mind is open to it. And but you've got to make it positive, So Finley brushed his teeth, and that made sure that his teeth were healthy. And I always used to say to him as well, you only need to brush the ones that you want to keep. Yeah, but there's little things like that. Rather than saying if you don't brush your teeth will fall out, because that's negative. And the subconscious mind says, no, it won't, that won't happen. So when you brush your teeth, you'll have lovely teeth for the rest of your life, But putting these little lines in while they're in that really groggy kind of state, just before they go to sleep. Another example with Lucas, we were away on holiday at the caravan, and he fell off his bike and really hurt himself. He had grazed chin, his shoulder was all skinned, and his hand came up like a balloon, and it was full of pain, and he was really upset by it. The next day, he was crying. So we just went for a little walk, and we sat down under a tree, and I just got him to close his eyes and just to imagine the minions. The minions? Yeah. With Nerf guns, because he loves Nerf guns. And the bullets are full of paracetamol. And I said, I want you to imagine there's a little warehouse somewhere inside your body full of minions. Just tell them to go down your arm, into your hand. You can go with them. Have a look around inside. You can see all the bones, and you can see the nerves, and you can see the red bits where it hurts, and get them to fire the bullets at the red bits where it hurts. And I could see him, his hands all over, and he was doing it. And I said, as soon as those bullets hit the red bits will go away and the pain will be gone. And we did that for about a minute. And then I just give him a nudge. Come on, let's go for a walk. Off we went. And about 20 minutes later, how's your hand? And it was, it's fine. It's fine. And that was hypnosis. But you don't need to be a hypnotist to be able to do that. Just help children solve the problem. It's relaxed.
And visualizing.
Let it escape. Yeah. So the same with behaviour. Get them to just relax. Give them the confidence that you understand what's going on, and you're there to help them, and just help them to let it out. I'm not an expert in that field in particular,
it's embracing
but
the feeling,
general feeling is about embracing it and helping them to know that you understand what's going on here to help them.
Yeah.
To produce children that are going to grow into really nice adults. Well, let's just go back to what we've been
achieving the best that they can.
Yeah, you've got to program them to be the best. You've always got to give them positive messages. As soon as you start on this route of, if you do this wrong, this won't happen. If you don't work hard, this will happen. All that negative stuff has to stop. You've got to start straight away by encouraging the subconscious mind to take on board positive messages. So when you do this well, when you work hard, these positive things will happen. So if you want to do well in it, or if you want to achieve something, you've just got to dream it. You just put those messages in their head. You can do this. Yeah, so tips like that is just about being positive with your children, encourage them, but don't make them overconfident. You know, I think it's more about putting the effort in than saying, you know, you're going to be a superstar footballer. You know,
Yeah.
because if they're not, then, you know, they get overconfident and then they don't make it, and then there's massive failure and it can destroy them.
Yeah.
It kind of happened to my son-in-law.
Oh.
Yeah. So try not to make them overconfident that they're actually going to be this. But if they want to get somewhere towards that, just help them to believe that they can work hard enough to do it. Then the subconscious mind will kick in and help them. And I think what happens as well is the subconscious mind is realistic. It kind of knows, you know,
Its limitations.
It's the person's limitations.
Yeah.
You can do almost anything, but clearly you've got to be realistic, and some things are just out of reach, you know, because of our personalities and the environment we live in as well. But we just want to make children better teenagers, better adults. And I think the way to do that is, as we've said, just parents need to be more positive with them, support them, guide them, rather than tell them they can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or don't do it.
Or don't do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Do things a different way, you know, by giving them a positive message, positive outcome for some of their actions rather than a negative one. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
Parenting is one of the hardest jobs in the world. It really is.
Yeah. Don't come with a manual.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. And, you know, I've looked at parenting courses before, just out of interest. And there's nothing about that psychology in there, really.
No.
You know, nothing about, that I've found anyway, about positive programming.
And it's fundamental.
Absolutely.
Once you get it,
Yeah.
you understand it, it's quite life-changing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So that concludes today's episode. Thank you, Alan, for your time. And we look forward to our next one.
Oh, you're very welcome.